We've all been curious about the world around us, whether it's mundane like a new coffee shop in town, or something a bit more mysterious, like a tunnel, frozen in time, sealed away while the city grows and changes around it. Yet there it is, hidden away unnoticed in the modern landscape, untouched for decades, with a dark and disastrous past. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kat, or As a Kitten, and today's video is going to be a bit different than the content that I usually post. Today is going to be the first episode of Hometown Horror, which is a new series that I'm starting here on the channel, and we'll be discussing urban legends, ghosts, and cryptids that happen to be from my own backyard. And today we're going to be discussing one that has both fascinated and terrified me to this day. So if you're a fan of this type of content, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for future videos. And with that being said, let's jump right into the creepy. The urban legend we'll be exploring today is the Richmond Vampire. So like some kids, I discovered this creature of the night through my mom. Now, a little known fact about my mom is that she loves everything sci-fi, horror, and of course, urban legends. Which I guess is hereditary because I love that stuff too, but anyway, I remember that we were having a conversation in the kitchen about Richmond and its overall weirdness when I was in high school. She told me about the tunnels underneath the Capitol and the Coliseum, and at the time that amazed me because I had no idea of their existence. That was until we began talking about Shockoe Bottom. As usual, my mom began discussing the area's notoriety and the train tunnel collapse, which is fine until she said the word vampire. Now, I know this already sounds kind of stupid because obviously vampires don't exist unless you're a huge Twilight fan, which in that case, you can't be helped. But yeah, my city has a vampire that apparently made its one and only debut on October 2nd, 1925. So for context, the Churchill train tunnel was a part of the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway, or C&O, which was a Class I railroad formed in 1869 in Virginia from several smaller Virginia railroads beginning in the 19th century. Led by industrialist Collis P. Huntington, it reached from Virginia's capital city of Richmond to the Ohio River by 1873, where the railroad town and later city of Huntington, West Virginia was named after. Although the city was rapidly expanding during the industrial period of the 20th century, no one foresaw the impending tragedy and mystery that an ordinary day of tunnel restoration would bestow upon the city. On October 2nd, 1925, a group of men left for work just as they did on any other day. Their jobs, although for varied organizations, landed them in the same place, namely the Churchill train tunnel. The tunnel had been built for the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad, as mentioned earlier in 1875. But the tunnel had long been plagued with problems due to water seepage and other safety concerns. After being abandoned in the early 1900s, the tunnel sat vacant until 1925, when the railroad began to restore the tunnel to a usable condition, hoping to expand the C&O rail lines. On the afternoon of October 2nd, C&O engineer Thomas J. Mason pulled 10 flat cars behind locomotive number 231 into the western entrance of the tunnel just below Jefferson Park. Construction workers were to then load the flat cars with dirt, in which Mason would then haul away. C&O foreman Benjamin F. Mosby was also aboard the train with Mason when the bricks began to fall from the ceiling of the tunnel, severing the electrical connections and plunging the tunnel into total darkness. Sensing the imminent danger, workers began to race to the exits as nearly 200 feet of the tunnel's western entrance collapsed directly onto the train, burying several workers alive. It was here that the urban legend of the vampire materialized. In the midst of all the chaos, rescue workers spotted a ghoulish, blood-covered humanoid creature with jagged teeth and skin hanging off its body, crouching amongst the bodies of the dead. Upon seeing the creature, a group of men outside the tunnel then pursued the creature deeper into the city. The creature then escaped from the cave-in and made its way towards the James River, where it allegedly disappeared into a mausoleum at the Hollywood Cemetery, bearing the name of W.W. Poole. Now, looking at a map of Richmond, you can see the insane distance between Churchill and Hollywood Cemetery, which you can actually get a great view of that distance from the Churchill Outlook where the old WRVA radio station is located. There's absolutely no way that a person could possibly cover that great of a distance in a city setting, especially after being involved in a deadly train tunnel collapse. Well, not any human for that matter. But a bloodthirsty creature of the night? Maybe don't get your hopes up for vampire hunting just yet. The Mausoleum itself is where the majority of vampire connections to William Wortham Poole were made. This place of death may be the birthplace of rumors that claim that Poole was driven out of England in the late 1800s for being a vampire. Above the door of the mausoleum are Poole's first and middle initials, along with his last name, W.W. Poole. Some perhaps want to give people a spook, propose that the double W's resemble fangs. Combined with the various Masonic and Egyptian elements incorporated into the architectural design of the structure, and the fact that the year of death is listed as 1913, which was 9 years before Poole actually died, all combined to tell a pretty terrifying tale. Is there really a vampire buried deep within that mausoleum? Now, fun fact, they actually casually forgot to mention that 1913 was the year that Alice Perdue, W.W. Poole's wife, was buried within the mausoleum. It's funny how that happens, right? Okay, so even though W.W. Poole has been dead for a very long time, and although most people know him as our local vampire, there aren't many people who know who he actually was when he was alive. So I'm going to take a moment to provide some clarity about who he actually was when he was alive. William Wortham Poole was a bookkeeper born in Mississippi in April of 1842. He was the son of Samuel Poole and Nancy Rose Wortham, and his siblings were John R. Poole, Thomas Poole, Albert Poole, and, sorry if I'm butchering this name, but Deirdus Poole. Samuel Poole was a merchant and William was a clerk in Jackson, Mississippi. During the 1860s, Poole eventually moved to Virginia, where he worked as a clerk for the Tobacco Company in Manchester in 1870. After working as a clerk, William was able to get a job as a bookkeeper from 1880 to 1900. He then became a private secretary in 1910 and returned to work as a bookkeeper in Richmond in 1920. In 1886, William married Alice Perdue and the two had 4 children together: Lawrence Poole, Anne W. Poole, Samuel Poole, and Mary L. Poole. W.W. Poole eventually died in February of 1922 at the age of 80. He was then buried in Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond, Virginia. His family tomb is inscribed with the date of 1913, which, as mentioned earlier, is the year of his wife's burial. Their bodies, however, are currently not located inside the mausoleum. They have since been relocated due to vandalism brought on by the vampire rumors. So, before you arm yourself with wooden stakes and all the garlic legally allowed to be sold to one person, and to anyone who's dreaming of becoming the next Blade, you're ultimately going to be disappointed. While creepy, the truth behind the story of our ghoul friend is ultimately as paranormal as a stuffed animal. That is, unless it's one from the SCP Foundation, and yeah, I got into some weird stuff during lockdown. According to Gregory Maitland, a paranormal researcher with the Virginia Ghost and Haunting Research Society, the ghoulish-looking person that somehow made its way out of the cave-in was none other than railroad foreman Benjamin F. Mosby. Mosby made the grave mistake of working on a steam train without a shirt on, and was fatally scalded when the boiler that he had been shoveling coal into exploded. Mosby was then, upon exiting the tunnel, a grotesque sight for the other workers, with shattered teeth and skin hanging off his body. Mosby then ran for his life from the tunnel, later dying of his injuries at the nearby Grace Hospital, which has since been remodeled into an apartment building in 2004. Further research into the Richmond Vampire legend reveals that a few men did in fact survive the collapse by climbing underneath flat cars and escaping through the eastern entrance of the tunnel, one of whom was Benjamin Mosby. After the accident, the tunnel remained a rescue scene for several weeks, yet only Mason's body was ever recovered, as every effort to dig through the rubble resulted in further cave-ins. Finally, the Virginia State Corporation Commission, or SCC, ordered that the western entrance of the tunnel be sealed, claiming that the tunnel's condition presented too many safety concerns. It is, however, believed that to this day there are at least 2 workmen that lay sealed behind the wooden door that now marks the western entrance of the tunnel. The identity of these men remains unknown, and employment records were not as well kept at the time as they are today, and most likely the men were migrant workers who came and went as work was available. In 2006, the Virginia Historical Society and History Channel sought to uncover the buried train and end the misery of those workers who were left entombed in the wreckage. However, soon after drilling into the tunnel, a camera revealed that water and silt filled the cavernous space, making any further exploration into the tunnel too dangerous for the surrounding homes and land. Today, only the eastern entrance of the tunnel is accessible to the public. Although it has fallen to great disrepair, the tunnel now contains high water levels and gritty quicksand-like silt, making it too dangerous for exploration. In 2014, a petition began to clean up the area and create a memorial for those who died in the tragedy. However, I wasn't able to see if that petition actually gained traction with the public in Richmond, so if anyone knows what happened with that petition, please make sure to mention that down below in the comment section. So I actually went on 3 of these ghost tours with the Haunts of Richmond to the Churchill and Shockoe Bottom area. I went on the Shockoe Shockers tour twice because it was fun and was the only one available that day. Honestly, the tours aren't very spooky per se. It's more of a fun little history tour with a spooky theme. But with that being said, being near the sealed off entrance of the tunnel on a cold Halloween night gave me more than just chills from the weather. The vampire aspect doesn't creep me out at all because, as I said earlier, vampires don't exist. But knowing that there are bodies of rail workers that have been trapped inside of a makeshift tomb for over 95 years does creep me out. And who knew that an average day of work could lead to such tragedy and death? I also went to the Hollywood Cemetery at night after one of those tours with my friend and her then boyfriend at the time, and 0 out of 10, I would not do it again. I recently visited this tunnel site, and a lot has changed in the area since I last went on a ghost tour. The property management that now owns the lofts in the area in which the tunnel is located has since added a fence around the edge of the parking lot in the outdoor seating area that is directly in front of the sealed western portal. It's understandable as to why they made that decision, because I can't imagine how annoying it is to have people constantly trespassing onto the property, looking for something paranormal, or potentially damaging the western portal. In addition, Haunts of Richmond has since changed the vampire story location to the Churchill Outlook due to the tunnel area being fenced off. And as usual, the bizarre and mysterious turned out to be the case of mistaken identity that happened twice. Although the existence of a vampire is always more fun, the truth, however, can often be more grisly than fiction. And that's where I'm going to end today's video. I want to thank you for joining me here on the channel for my first installment of Hometown Horror, and I really hope you enjoyed this type of content. This video took a really long time to make because of all the research I had to do, and I had to go film at the locations around Richmond. Also, if you are interested in oddity shops, there is Rest in Pieces, which is a oddity/taxidermy place, which is right near Hollywood Cemetery if you want to go check that out. I've never been there. I've wanted to go for a pretty long time. My fiance and I went on Sunday of this week, and there was a line because it's a pretty small place, so they were at capacity, and I was like, I'm hungry, so we can go next time we come down. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed researching this video, and I'm starting to enjoy making content like this, and I really wanted to focus on like paying respect to W.W. Poole and also the workers of the tunnel collapse, and make sure that I'm being respectful and honoring their memory as well with this video. Anyway, I appreciate you for coming to the channel today and watching this video, and I hope you are here next time, because we're going to be talking about an urban legend that is pretty obscure unless you live closer to the mountains, so it should be pretty fun. Other than that, again, I appreciate you, and I hope you come back for more, and With that being said, see ya!